The weather company is now part of IBM, and specifically part of the Watson group at IBM. And it's part of our journey that's about 18 months old now. And so shortly you'll be hearing more from us as to all the ways in which we're moving into AI and moving, including but beyond weather. We'll talk a little bit more about AI as we go, but I figured I would start by just sharing a quick definition. So we use the term cognitive often when we talk about AI at IBM. And the difference between cognitive and programming, this is something that comes up a lot. Think about it this way. Programming is programming that's done by humans. Cognitive is programming that's done by computers. And so you see an extra level of speed and efficiency and data usage, intelligence that goes into cognitive solutions. Just a couple of examples of where we see cognitive being used in the world right now. We see it in healthcare. It's allowing surgeons, cancer doctors to be able to diagnose and treat disease very specifically by combing hundreds of thousands of pages of journals in seconds, as opposed to, what a doctor would typically be able to do. And obviously that would take an entire career to do the same thing. And we see it in autonomous driving. An example of that would be you can't just program a car to drive from, say, Cannes to Rome, but with cognitive, you can get a car from Cannes to Rome, and it would be able to identify when lights are changing from red to green, when pedestrians are crossing the street, et cetera. So obviously, self-driving can't be done through programming because you never know when someone's crossing the street, but cognitive can obviously work with those solutions. So there's many different ways we can talk about cognitive in the world, and Mark Sagar is here with me today. We thought this was a great place to start. So Mark is the CEO and co-founder of Soul Machines, which is a New Zealand-based company. I'm actually going to have to look at the note because, and you're gonna walk away with this hopefully amazed as I am, but it's a company focused on biologically based models with AI. So think basically virtual humans. They're building virtual humans. That's kind of cool. And before he was the CEO of Soul Machines, he's an Academy Award winner for his work on Avatar, which is a little meta, but you'll see, even though the word Avatar isn't exactly what we're talking about here, it kind of sort of is in terms of, if you're a layman, what your understanding would be. He's a TEDx talker, a graduate of the University of Auckland, and he's a graduate, postgraduate at MIT. So, which makes me feel terrible now, because I just went to GW, and that's all I got. Anyway, so I want to start real quickly, talk a little bit about, Mark, the experience on Avatar, because I think this is like a subtle way of getting into this conversation, because there's some similarities there anyhow. So first of all, how did it start? How did you get found to do that work?
I've been working with digital faces for a really long time, and I was actually developing technology for the film King Kong, Peter Jackson's movie, and it was basically, that was taking human expression and putting it on gorillas. So it's how do you make a character appear like it's got an inner life? And then for movies like Avatar, I was looking at how do we take the expression from what an actor's doing and put it on the avatar's face, and that's basically like a big blue cat. And the key thing in that is that you've got to get the emotion coming across, because you've got to engage the audience. So basically, the Avatar works as a movie because people believe the character, and basically that's achieved by a lot of attention to detail and tiniest little eye movements, all the types of things which are really connecting the audience to the character and the story.
So I think a natural progression in the conversation would have you show a demonstration, but I don't want to do that just yet. I want to put a pin in that for a second. So that's you're working trying to create expressions in film, and then you start this company. So let's have you correct my definition or make my definition of AI better. So give us your definition of AI.
Well, there's multiple sort of uses of the word AI. So what people think of as AI in movies is essentially artificial general intelligence, and that's where you actually have a machine, a sentient machine, really thinking for itself, autonomously and doing all kinds of things. And then a lot about how AI is talked about today is like a pattern recognition or something like that. So it could be, like part of a search system, or it could be, in the self-driving car type technology where it's recognizing a pedestrian, but it's not going to take over the world. It doesn't know how to do anything else. And that's sort of like what's called narrow AI. And so I guess my interest in combining this with characters was how do we actually make characters that have their own digital life? How do you literally bring technology to life? And you almost have to give it a nervous system. So you have to give it a digital brain so it can actually think for itself, because that starts making it really engaging and interesting, because you don't know how it's going to act, or it's going to act in particular things that'll have memory and so forth. So that was a sort of a thing where I realized that the technology was there to start putting these ingredients together to start making models which you could kind of bring alive.
So behind the scenes, behind the models, and we'll get to the models in just a second. Behind the models, talk about the technology. You're built on Watson technology, which is one of the reasons why you're here in Cannes right now with us. What sits behind the faces that you're building?
So we have biologically constrained cognitive architectures. So these are brain models. So the models can sense the environment, and they can react, and they can learn in real time. And we can connect those to Watson if you want to have a conversation with it. For example, if you want to talk about a particular thing. So that's where some of the commercial applications come in. It's like if you have a company and it's got a whole bunch of big data that you really want to sort of discuss and go through. That's when we essentially put like a living face on it almost.